Hello everyone, Jane Malmy here. Welcome to another scrapbook process video. Today I am doing a bright and cheery layout. You can see all of my rainbow colors laid out here, and I'm using the special from Close to My Heart called It's the Little Things. There's also some really pretty black and white patterns and some rainbow patterns, really fun, pretty colors in this collection, as you can see. But I'm gonna stick mostly to these rainbow colors, and I'm actually kind of creating the workshop, one of the workshop layouts that is available. So this is It's the Little Things on my website, and this is the layout that I was really drawn to, but I'm going to turn it into a 2-page layout. So if you go to my website, which I will link down in the description below, you've got a scrapbooking guide, a card making guide, and a mini album guide. There are full guides for all of these projects. So this is a scrapbook workshop. I actually got the whole workshop kit. It comes with a stamp set, and then the guides show you all of the cutting instructions ahead of time so that you can get everything cut with these little 6x6 papers. And don't let the 6x6 fool you. You are creating 12x12 layouts. So here is this first layout, the second layout, the third layout, and then this single layout, which I'll be turning into a double layout. So this is the kit that I got, and I'm going to show you all the pieces in just a moment, but I wanted to show you that when you go to any of the specials or kits on my website, when you click on the kit, you can see the pictures of all of the layouts that are going to be made with that kit. And of course, you don't have to follow these exactly. You can just get the kit and do your own thing, which is what I typically do. So I'm kind of doing my own thing by making this a 2-page layout. So the layout was created by a fellow consultant, Pamela Blackwell. She did a beautiful job on the workshop. She used black and white photos, and I'm just not a fan of black and white photos, so I chose lots of colorful photos. But I think it's going to work really nicely because we do have a lot of black and white to kind of balance it out, and I'm going to be balancing out in other ways. So I'm going to kind of show you ways to do that. And I'm also going to fit 10 3x4 photos on this double layout with flip flaps. So you'll see how I do that. All right, so also available with this special are the scrapbooking stickers. So I may be pulling some of these into my layout. Those are really cute. And then this is that stamp set that I had shown you. I thought it was really cute. Just to note that if you do order this, the word lame is not on there anymore. I'm not sure what happened. I guess someone complained and they realized that they don't want lame in there. I thought it was actually kind of fun to have it in there. So, I've got one of the original vintage stamp sets now. It's still a great stamp set. And then you also get these like black paperboard pieces. There's a cool title here, Enjoy the Little Moments, The Good Life, and these are all incorporated on that in that guide. And it also comes with some black and white cardstock for the layouts as well. There's also, like I showed, a card workshop and the mini album workshop. I went ahead and got the card making stickers as well. So these are, all the same colors, but I thought they were really fun for scrapbooking too. So I really liked all of these flowers especially. So I'm going to be probably incorporating these in some layouts as well. But there's also these little white areas that I just thought, those might be fun to just stamp stamp little sentiments or add journaling or tuck behind things and things like that. So it doesn't have to be just for card making. And then there's also the black kind of paperboard embellishments for card making as well that I got. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this up, and then we'll get started in the layout. The guide called for using this beautiful floral paper in each of the corners of the layout. So I'm auditioning that and some of the other black and white patterns. I wasn't sure which I wanted to use. So I'm going to hold up each of them. I didn't like the ones that had more white in the background, and then this one I thought was too dark. So I did really like that floral pattern that she chose in the guide, but I liked this plaid one as well. So I'm going to lay them both down and kind of decide which one I like better. here. But then I had an idea. I remembered that I have all of the beautiful florals and leaves in the stamp set. So I thought, well, why don't I create my own patterned paper and stamp the whole background so that it's not just the corners, it's going around the whole perimeter of my layout. Since I'm going to stamp pretty much the whole background, I'm turning over one of my Versamats, and that gives me a nice foamy, cushy surface for my stamping. You could also use the little foam pieces that come in the stamp set if you'd like, but this is easier when you're covering such a large surface. And when I random stamp, I start with the largest stamp. That makes it easier, and you start with the largest one and work your way down to the smallest one. So I've got my archival black ink. I do like this black a lot because it's a very vivid dark black. It's the darkest one that Close to My Heart carries. But you could also use the intense black, which, don't be confused, it's not as intense as the archival. Or the regular black. And I'm just going around kind of imagining that center piece is going to be there, and I'm just going around the border, and I want the flowers to kind of be hanging off the edge so it looks like it's natural, like a paper that was actually designed and printed and cut, and have some of them kind of look like they're going to go underneath that mat. So I did use that little scratch paper after the first stamp, realizing that when I go off the edge, I don't want to stamp onto the foam. And so I'm using that little piece of scrap paper as I go around as well. Now I'm going to move on to my next smallest one. This leaf cluster is a good one because it can kind of rotate and fit in different nooks and crannies that you have. And it looks really good coming out from underneath and out from the sides around there. So I'm really liking this little floral stamp. So just going to keep going around with this one, and then we'll move on to the next stamp. And I'm cleaning each of these in between. With the archival black ink, it does stain your stamps, but it doesn't stain quite as bad if you clean them right away. So I'm using my little stamp chamois to clean in between each one. And now for the butterfly one, I wanted the butterfly to be facing up all the way around. So each time I turn my page, which is how I found it easier to do, I turned my stamp as well so that it'll be facing up in the end. And then I did a couple of other stamps in there, and now I'm coming in with the tiniest little leaf stamp and filling in. And then I thought it would be fun to add some splatters, and I'm using this You're a Hoot card making stamp set. I love the controlled splatter look that this gives, especially since I wanted to add lots of different colors. So I'm adding each of the colors that I have in the banners for my layout. And I'm just going around cleaning it between each one. And I like the bit of subtle color that this adds, that, you know, you could add this to that paper, just add the splatters to the paper and get this similar look. But I really like how this brings a little bit of color, but not too much around that border, to add some color around there. So really liking how that's looking. I decided I wanted a few more splatters, so I added a little bit more of the green apple and the lemonade, because those were the lightest colors, and they wouldn't be as like in your face as any of the other ones. So I realized once I got both layouts down, I thought I would test out switching up the colors so that they were opposite on the other page. And I ended up liking that better, so it looks like it kind of, you know, starts in red and goes to the end of the rainbow and then goes backwards back to red. And so it's kind of like a mirror image. And so laying all my photos out, these are the two that are going to be in flip-flops. So I'm going to put those aside and work on my title. I pulled out the Moxie alphabet stamp and die set for my title. I liked the size for the title, and I really love this set. I've used it a lot. I decided on Love You, and I wasn't sure what color I wanted, but I remembered I had a bunch of these raspberry pink letters left over for another project. So I just put them up there. They don't spell anything, but I wanted to just see for the color and decided I don't really want pink, and I liked the idea of using the candy apple red since that that was on the very outside of the layout. I felt that it kind of helped draw your eye in by having the candy apple red. Now, as I started stamping, and notice I am on the foam that came in the stamp set, I realized that my candy apple ink pad is pretty dry, so I wasn't getting a super good stamped image, so I switched over to my mini Misty so that I could stamp it twice. And this way actually worked out nicely because I could stamp 4 of them at once. I could have fit even more if I had a bigger piece of paper, but I stamped a whole bunch of them at once, and then I was able to stamp it down and then re-ink and stamp again. And note to self, I need to re-ink this ink pad now. Actually, I just ordered and received the candy apple re-inker, so I am going to be doing that very shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those off camera. And I also cut a bunch of these flowers from the Layered Flowers die set. I love this die set. And I'm going to use it to create little leaf and flower clusters on each side of the title. If you are following the guide and doing just the one-page layout, then you'll have your title centered and there's some other things on the sides, and it really, you don't have as much white space to fill. But because I stretched this to a 2-page layout and my word on the right especially is shorter, I really felt like I had some space to fill, and these little flower clusters worked perfectly. There's not very many times when a pretty flower cluster doesn't work. I've even been known to use them on masculine layouts. However, I don't always. But in this case, I think it worked because this was my husband and me. I went through and found photos from the last, several years. I didn't go too far back, and just found some photos that I really liked of us together, which doesn't happen that often. I do try to be more intentional about it now, but especially when the kids were younger, I didn't take very many of us because everything was of the kids, right? Every little thing. But now when we go on outings, or sometimes we even go on date nights, not very often, I try to get pictures of the two of us. And so I try to represent things that we enjoy doing and some places that we've traveled to, things that just are really representative of us. All right, so now that I've got those done, I've pulled out some of the pieces from the black chipboard. Now these hearts are die cuts that I cut with a small stitched heart die that I had, but those little bows are from the chipboard sheet, and so are those little black sprigs that I put in the flower clusters. And I thought that those little bows looked really cute, looking like they were holding each side of my little photo strands there. To make my title stand out just a little bit more, I went around the edges with some black ink. And I did also go around the edges of each of those colorful banners in black ink as well. I did that off camera, but that was done on the inspiration layout and I really liked it. I decided to add a little banner cluster up in the top right because I did have a little more space to fill over on that side, and I'm using some of the stickers from the sticker sheet for that. There are some little tiny banner stickers, and then the yellow one and that striped one are supposed to look like washi tape, kind of. They've got kind of like a ruffled edge to them to look like washi tape, and so the striped one I used as is, like washi tape, and then that yellow one I trimmed to just look like a longer, skinnier banner. So I really like how that turned out, and so I'm using my little tweezers to help me get everything right in place. Do you guys use tweezers? I didn't used to, but I think it's probably like in the past year, I just use them for everything. And so this is no exception. It really helps me to get all of these pieces right in place, and I think that that looks good. So I'm grabbing some more of the black little paperboard pieces, and I have that one in the top cluster, the little banners that says love, and then I'm adding a couple of butterflies. I'm trying to kind of create a visual triangle with these pieces because I have so much weight at the top, so much going on at the top with the titles, and then I've got a lot of color at the bottom too with the banners, but I don't really have much black down here, so I just wanted to pull that down. I'm going back and forth between the large and the medium butterfly, and I'm going to end up settling on the medium one. And then I started thinking, I think that these hearts that are holding, each of the photos together are just a little bit too big. They were a little bit too heavy. So there were some smaller hearts in that paperboard pack, which I thought looked good, but I didn't have enough of them to go across each of the photos. So I'm leaving the ones on the edge for now, but I'm actually going to end up removing those too. All right, now I'm going to start assembling, and I wanted to show you how I got these banners to be straight and even. I used a T-square ruler and I went right down the center using the 6 on my Versamat to help me line everything up. And since there's just 3 on each side, it was a nice even number. I could start with the one in the middle and work my way out and just make sure that each one is kind of fanned out equidistant. It was pretty easy to just kind of adjust it if I needed to, and then I did the exact same thing on the other side. Now, to put the photos on, I lined them up exactly at the top of the banner, so I don't have any banners showing at the top. And I started with the middle one, went right in the middle over those 2, and then I sort of like connected them with just a very small gap. I'm going to go back to that one. I left a very small gap between them because I wanted them to be very close, and then you'll see what I used to kind of connect them in the end. It was something smaller than the hearts. And just go and make sure that each one is even on each side, and I will do that exact same thing on the other side as well. So I had these black enamel dots in my stash, and I'm using the large one to put in between each photo. I'm going to keep the bow on the outside, but I'm putting the enamel dots on all the rest of the photos, even those inside ones. And then I'm going to use a couple of micro glue dots to hold down this little bow here. And I think that that finishes it off nicely and looks really good. Now there's not very many layouts of mine that don't have splatters, so I came in with my black shimmer brush and just added a few splatters, not very many, just a tiny bit, just to fill that white space just a little bit. I love splatters, and I especially love these that they have some shimmer in them, and they come in all different colors too. I wanted to add some hidden journaling, so I pulled out my buildable tags die set, and I'm going to create a little hidden pocket behind this photo over here. I just used a piece of scrap cardstock. You could use whatever you have. I had this left over from cutting out the leaves from the dies, and the little tag here fits perfectly behind my 3x4 photo with the mat. So I'm just going to take my liquid glue and kind of go all the way around the edge, just a very thin line, because I want to be able to slide my tag in easily. And we'll just put that right there on the back of the photo. And my tag will be able to slip in there like a pocket right behind there very easily, just like this. Now these buildable tags come with the little like tabs to cover up the hole. So that's what I'm putting on here. And I chose Lagoon because since this tag will be over on the far right, the Lagoon is the color that's the furthest from it. So there's a lot of separation. I didn't use the green because the leaves were right there. And I had a lot of the other colors up in the flower cluster, but the Lagoon seemed to work really nicely. And then I'm going to put my title on some thin 3D foam. I like to use the thin 3D foam because it does give a little bit of dimension, but it doesn't add a whole lot of bulk to my scrapbook. I don't like much bulk in my scrapbook. Every now and then I'll use regular foam tape, but for the most part, I like this thin 3D foam tape, and I will do that to all of the letters. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my ruler as well, just to make sure I'm on the right track. I don't do a ton of measuring. I like to eyeball things when I can, but just wanted to make sure I had the title in mostly the right spot. And then I realized that this piece wasn't glued down yet, so I definitely want to glue that down. You can get a good look at that pretty background that we created with the stamps. And then I'll use my Versamat to line up, make sure that corner is at the 1 and the 1, and that way I have a 1-inch border going all the way around. And I'll get the rest of it glued off camera. Here's a close-up at how everything looks, and then I'm going to show you how to adhere those flip-flaps to add those 4 extra photos to our layout. If you've enjoyed this video so far, I would love it if you hit that like button. That really helps my channel out. And consider subscribing if you enjoy watching scrapbooking videos, because I do post every week. And I will have still shots of this layout on my social media channels, which are linked below. All right, so I've got the layouts in the page protectors, and I have two 3x4 flip flaps here. And here are our little photos that we're going to add. I already glued them back to back, and if your flip flaps are going to be flipping up, you want to make sure that the photo on the back is upside down. That way when it flips up, it will be right side up. So I'm just going to tuck this inside my little flip flap. There's how it's going to work. I've got my adhesive facing up, fold that back, and then put it right over the photo onto the page protector. It does stick really, really well, so I did kind of get it in the wrong spot because I didn't want my head getting in the way. You should be a little better off not having to worry about a camera in your way here. You want to make sure you're right over the photo. I'm going to do this again for you. I've got the adhesive faced up. I'm going to slide my photo in, and then I'm going to kind of burnish that, peel the stickiness off, and then put it down right over my photo and stick it onto my page protector. I'm going to lift it up and kind of burnish that sticky into my page protector, and then fold it back down and make sure that I've got a good crease on that little flip flap fold there. And then we've got our two flip flaps. The flip flaps are some of my favorite scrapbooking supplies, and they come in all different sizes, including 4x6. I will have them linked down in the description below. And for more ideas using them, check out the video on screen. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.